from Significant. This is Crack It in an Hour.
Hello, everybody. And I'm so delighted that I get to be Simon today. Welcome to Crack It in an Hour, where we have one problem once a week, 1 hour to crack it. Let's see if we can get to cracking it. I'm Roman.
I'm Jessie.
And I'm Biz.
Simon's sick today. He said he had a baby flu.
Poor baby.
Oh, isn't that cute? I think it's a cute name, baby flu. Well, anyway, we wish him well. He said he should be back on his feet tomorrow. So I'm the host today, and I'm also going to start the clock.
You're in charge of everything today.
I'm so in charge. So I'm going to start the clock right now. Exactly. Good luck. All right. 59 minutes and 56 seconds left. Let's go. I'm the host. So usually Simon says, for those of you who know, for those of you who don't know, those of you who know, there's only one person who knows the subject. And today it is me. Jessie and Biz have no idea what we're going to be talking about. And today we're going to be talking about kids and teens. Because they need their freedom back. So we keep giving kids freedom online, but no more in the real world. And so how do we convince parents to give kids and teens their freedom back? So there's a bunch of data. It seems pretty obvious when you make that statement. That kids no longer have enough freedom. I think we touched on it a few times in past episodes because it's a pretty big societal thing. I really don't think this should be about it's not an anti-screen time conversation. It really is because there's benefits to the kids being in the digital world. There's cons too, right? But this is really not the conversation. It's like, how do we get parents to understand that giving more freedoms to their kids is going to be beneficial? Few data points. Only 13% of US kids walk or bike to school, which is down from 50% in the late 70s. The average child's roaming range has shrunk by 90% compared to the 70s.
Oh my God.
56% of American parents say they will not allow their kids to play outside unsupervised. In late 90s, 50% of kids played outdoors daily. By 2014, that dropped to 20%. And that is a stat that blew my mind. There's 30 states in the US where parents have been investigated or arrested for letting children play or walk alone. So there's a legal ramification to it that I didn't suspect.
Wait, arrested for negligence?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's plenty of benefits. And I don't know if we want to unpack them together or if I just state what I found right now.
Can I ask a very Simon question?
Yes.
How are we defining freedom? Is it letting kids be outside more? Is it just having it doesn't matter where they are, they're just not being tracked or having supervision? It's
being not in your house and unsupervised.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be on the street. It could be at a park. It could be on a sports field, unsupervised. It could be in the woods, on whatever. Just letting your kids and teens, importantly, feel that they can have a life without one, two, or more parents just always looking at them, observing, analyzing, and not letting them really be free. So why do you think I don't know, if we wanted to start, why do you think we say, every parent say, oh, I trust my kids, but then they won't let that happen.
Yeah.
They're like, sure, I trust you. You can play video games.
Well, I think it's interesting because is it lack of trust in your kids or lack of trust in the world around your kids?
Yeah.
And it's probably, both of those things are probably at play. But I imagine that's part of what makes it very complex for parents, more so than in the past.
Well, a third thing too that I'm thinking of is lack of trust in self as a parent to make decisions because of the amount of pressure that's on parenting right now.
And that's interesting.
that it's almost easier to just close the gate to everything and have control than it is to try to put a little trust in your own wisdom as a parent of how far, how long, where they can go, where they can roam. Does it make me a bad parent? Especially with the parents being arrested, you said? I mean, it just creates sort of a fear inside of you of like, you know, freedom is like, you have to have a lot of trust in yourself to let someone else roam free.
I know, Biz, we were doing a lot of research recently on parenting for a project. And I remember one of the things that we talked about that stuck with me was like, it seems very obvious. I mean, I guess neither of us are parents. So for me, it was like, whoa. But to your point about the pressure on being a good parent, or what even is however you even define good parent, which is a whole conversation in itself, was like this growing fear. It's so competitive now, both in being a parent and in being a kid to be raised to be successful or whatever. And all of the parents were basically saying like, I'm terrified that every decision I make is going to fuck up my kid or like fuck up the path
paralysis
that they're
right?
on. And then it creates a bunch of paralysis. So I think that's really interesting that
there's
fear of self-confidence.
Yeah, I'm getting excited, so I'm starting to talk over you. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
I mean, it almost creates like a paradox, right? It's that whole thing. I mean, it happens in like romantic relationships too, right? Where it's like the thing that will actually allow someone else to grow and thrive more is freedom. But out of fear, you kind of, you tighten the box, you control it, you know, and it does the anti thing that you're looking for.
It does.
So even if your starting point, your desire is to be a good parent that instills confidence in your kid, what you need to do is let them practice that confidence. But But
I like the idea that we're already getting into a possible solution, but I like the idea that the solution is not about convincing parents of the benefit or showing them the downfalls, but rather focusing on giving parents their own confidence back, I think is interesting.
You would still need to show them that
sure,
it's safe.
That's a behavior shift that's going to be necessary, right? Like, because what's interesting is that the data is like absolutely there that it's detrimental to the kids.
Yeah,
like it's
but Mike, do you think parents know that?
No. But I think I don't think they know it, so they need to. I don't think it's going to change behavior, but they need to know it. It's like delayed emotional development. American Academy of Pediatrics in 2021, kids need unstructured time to build confidence, decision-making skills, and resilience. Makes sense. Physical health risks. Only 24% of kids aged 6 to 17 meet the recommended daily activity levels, which is related, not direct, but adjacent, related. That's from the CDC. Overprotectiveness can prevent children from developing independent problem-solving skills. You just talked about it. That's from the Harvard Center on the developing child. Sorry, I'm losing my English. It's Friday. On Fridays, I can't speak English.
It's fine. So, it's French Friday for you.
Exactly. Yeah. I used to call it Friday Franglish. So Friday, I talk like that, and it's much easier.
I'll see myself out.
I'm not doing that.
And one thing that, I have a bunch more. I'm just going to add one more, which is, I think, Jesse, you talked about the fear a bit of like the safety thing.
The unknown. Yeah.
And that is perception. Like the crime rates are historically low.
Yeah.
That's what, I had a question around that. Yeah.
Media coverage amplifies everything, but crime rates are historically low.
Yeah.
Stranger abduction is exceedingly rare. So it's 1 in 1.5 million chances. And child-targeted violent crime has dropped 70% since the 90s.
Yeah.
That's from the Pew Research in 2023. Perception. So it's pretty good data.
And
but yet still, the first thing that comes to mind, if you're like, my kid is my 10-year-old's going to walk alone for 10 minutes to go buy groceries. The first thing that's going to come to mind as a parent is abduction, stranger talking to them, whatever horrible thing that can happen to a child. Right? And it's lower than ever.
Yeah. Wait, I have to bring it up. Did you watch the documentary Good Neighbor?
No.
Did you watch it? I think
okay,
that's
this
what it
is
was
part.
called.
There's so many crime, but which I feel like I did.
What is it?
It was gosh, I forget where it was located, but what was interesting, what made me think of it was you talking about parents basically getting arrested for letting their kids be alone. And it was a really, really sad documentary about this woman who kept calling the cops on the neighbors in the neighborhood because they were letting their kids play outside, like play in the yard.
And then
then
something happened.
Yeah, something really, really bad happened. But and she kept claiming like she was like a ideal neighbor, a perfect neighbor. It's a really good documentary.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
I think it was
watched
called
that.
Good Neighbor.
Yeah. I cried.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really good
Takes
one.
a lot
It's
to
really,
get the tears out. That was an intense
Yeah,
one.
I can't watch that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, it was really fucked
anyway,
up.
that just made me think of
So you
that. But
just counter example.
Yeah.
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 Well, I don't mean to bring it up as a
don't let your kids
I
play
don't.
outside.
I just if you told me that people were calling the cops on other people for letting their kids play outside, I'd be like, there's no way. But I saw that documentary and I'm like, yeah, I do see that happening. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It speaks to also the power of message too. The fact that like literally crime rates are down, but crime shows across all platforms are up. You know what I mean? Like it's all, you said it's just all perception.
It's all perception.
It's all perception, but it's so powerful and it's hard to break that.
Yeah.
Because it lies in your subconscious and you just, no matter how much you try to tell parents differently, they've spent 15, 20 years just absorbing news, crime shows, podcasts. Like it's just hard to break, you know?
Yeah.
But it gets back to the behavioral thing. There's got to be something that is more powerful than 20 years of crime news and message and shows to get through.
I don't know if this is more powerful than that, but when you first started with the topic, the first thing that popped in my head was how much, both in kids and in parents, just as a society in general, how much we have changed the narrative on the concept of mistakes, thinking that making mistakes is a bad thing and that we're supposed to avoid, like we are literally living our lives in a way to avoid making mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's where the learning comes. Like you talked about it in some of the benefits. And I wonder if you have to reframe, because I don't think that you can say if you frame up the benefit to parents as just all of the positive things, I don't know that will overpower the negative perceptions and fears that they have. But if you're actually acknowledging, your kids are going to make mistakes out there. Someone might break an arm or something might happen, but like, that's actually okay. These things are okay. I don't know. I think breaking an arm maybe is extreme, but like the mistakes are, I think reframing mistakes as something that will happen but aren't a bad thing might be part of what needs to happen. Yeah,
I think that's interesting. I don't know where to take it, but I like it.
I almost wonder if there's like a classic sort of like tension point of insights of like, I don't know the exact stats, but like your kid is, only what was the stat? Like 1 in 200 million likely to be kidnapped.
1 in 1.5
but they are, I don't know, 95% going to lose this critical skill because you're not letting them out of the house. Like that's not like the most compelling version of it, but like almost comparing the two like fears. Cause I do think that that's like kind of interesting, to your point of like, you need to like break the ice a little bit and you need to like with also more fear, because that's what drives us.
Yeah.
But the comparison I think could be interesting.
Yeah, I do like that. It's like when people talk about how you're like when so many people are afraid of sharks. And it's like the likelihood of that, you're actually more likely to be struck by lightning twice in the same place than like to be attacked by a shark. But of course, we just see it in the news. But I like that. You have to challenge the fear with a more motivating fear.
A more immediate, real fear.
And a fear about, like, I think that's interesting. Like, we're basically saying a lot of parents fear screwing up their kid. And I think rather than saying, no, don't worry about that, you could say, you are going to screw them up by not giving them freedom. Like challenge.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is the first generation.
Yeah.
We don't know yet exactly the impact it's going to have.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to measure too, because obviously it's all very individual.
Yeah.
But it's the first generation.
One of the things that I'm curious about is why you don't see a correlation in parents giving their kids more freedom now that there's more ability to at least track them.
Surveillance.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, if you can like whatever, find my friends, like iPhone track, not like, hey, someone's supervising them, but like, I'm surprised that some of the technology that's out there doesn't create a sense of at least comfort that gives parents.
It's like, yeah, I agree. Like, what were things that you were doing as a teen that would be considered a little crazy today? And that were totally normal then?
So much.
I mean, yeah, like I was like I grew up in the woods, and I would literally be wandering around in the woods. Like literally there could be anybody or anything out there. And we would just build forts like way out deep in the woods, wander around out there, not come home for hours. I mean, I think, you know, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, by the time I reached like 9 or 10, there was no summer babysitter. It was just like, yeah, we're going to be gone for 9 to 5:30.
Exactly.
Entertain yourself. Here's lunch. Like, and we would get up to all kinds of stuff. In the summer, I was with my cousins, and we would be, going to the hardware store, Ace Hardware, picking up sheets of plywood with them on our backs, walking 8 blocks.
Totally.
No one said anything, you know?
Yeah.
Buying spray paint at Ace Hardware. They're like, what are you doing with this? We're like, And
Truly
we'd be
not
like
sure yet.
building skateboard ramps and, you know, and then you go inside and you eat whatever lunch prepared, and that was it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh God, I used to climb out on my roof
Yeah.
all the time, just hang out on the roof when no one was home. Like,
But I feel like now, I don't know for sure, but
Yeah.
like,
But
yeah.
yeah, but
that's not normal and shouldn't be done today either. But like what Biz is talking about is actually that's great.
It was
It's like, okay,
safe.
well, how are we going to fill our day? Okay, we have like $10 from mom and dad. We're going to go to Ace Hardware and we're going to do like some DIY project.
laying on the
But it's
roof,
something that should be happening today.
Yeah.
Like,
laying on the roof watching the clouds is not dangerous.
okay.
But I wonder if there's something like psychological around, I don't have like the exact articulation of it, but like when you have a little bit of control, you have a little bit of the tools, like the surveillance. Is it interfering with the complete allowance of freedom? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it better to know nothing about your kids? The only access that like my aunts or my parents had to us when we were just like roaming was like to call in at lunch on their break. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they'd be like, what are you guys up to? And like the house is on fire and like some random man is there. And we're like, we're just watching TV, you know? Like, and like,
all good.
But then, you know, by 5:30, the car rolls in and you're all just like sitting politely, like, you know, and you just, the whole day was just cartoons.
Yeah, that's all we did.
But I don't know. I wonder if there's like, there's got to be something with like when you have a little bit of control, then you can't. I don't know.
Yeah, you kind of need nothing.
Do you know what I'm getting at? I'm not.
It's
quite
almost better to have nothing
it,
than to have some.
No,
some
I agree. I think even when I think about it, just pragmatically about how it works today in our lives. I mean, first of all, Simon keeps saying he had a conversation one day with his daughter. It was like she came back from just going around the block and playing with friends or something and butchering the story, but it's a version of that. And she's like, oh, you know what we did, Dad? And he was like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Just that's your thing. That's great. You went out, you played, you're going to make great things.
I remember she was mixing sodas
mistakes
at Chipotle after just asking for a water cup. He's like, that's awesome. And just don't tell me.
Don't tell me. I don't want to know. Just do your thing. But that's one version which I love, which is great, which is like he's really erring on the side of just go play and go walk to the baseball diamond around the corner and things like that. When our kids are out, if they don't respond to the messages we send them, it's never like, how are you? Everything's fine. It's like, hey, is it okay if I pick you up there instead of here? right? So simple things. When they don't respond, it drives us crazy.
Really? Yeah, I would
It drives
imagine.
us crazy. And that's to your point.
Yeah.
It's like if they didn't have a way to communicate,
Mhm.
we just have a meeting point, and that's the meeting
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And then you have to show up.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is.
Which is
Yeah.
interesting because it teaches, that's like teaches responsibility,
Accountability.
accountability.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. There's
But
a lot
also-
of benefits to it.
Don't you think that kids need to lie? That like a little bit, like rebel a little bit, you know? Like
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. And I can't imagine how difficult this would be as a parent to knowingly allow it to happen. But like the amount of stuff we would get away with saying that we were at somebody else's house and this sleepover, and a friend, like the classic thing, a friend was calling saying that they were
Sure.
the older sister that would watch us, but really we were like 40 miles away at some party in the middle of nowhere, like, you know, and then you come back the next morning and maybe some mistakes happen, but like that's part of life and you learn.
Yeah.
And then, but now that's almost impossible.
That's
I
impossible.
actually,
It's impossible.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. But I do think it creates a bit of a moral compass, like
Yeah.
to know where you're, to like understand your own sense of guilt and
Yeah.
morality. I once got caught in one of those so badly, but it wasn't me. It was a friend who asked me to claim that she was at my house.
Oh, I
And
think you've
her
told me
mom
this.
called me and was like 100% sure she wasn't there. And I'm such a bad liar. And I was like, no, like she's asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and she was
it's
like-
3 p.m.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, I was horrible, like horrible.
I think I
Cannot.
recently told you the story
Yeah.
of the mailbox.
Yeah.
Did you hear this, Roman?
No.
This is a perfect example. If my dad had my location at this time, the lie would have never happened. But I took his car. I said I was going to work very close by. I was not going to work. I went to a boy's house at the time in the suburbs, and in that suburb, I hit a patch of ice, and the car went flying, and I hit someone's mailbox off, and I got scared and I drove away. I got home. My dad's like, "You got in an accident." I was like, "I hit a mailbox." He was like, "It happens. Let's go and give money to the people to fix their mailbox." So my work was very close to our house. So the only way to get there is through the neighborhood. We're driving through the neighborhood. It suddenly dawns on me that in the suburbs, all the mailboxes are out by the curb. In our neighborhood, which is like a 1920s, 1930s neighborhood, all of the mailboxes are on the house. Do you know what I mean? On the
Yeah,
doors.
Totally.
Such a good
So
Yeah.
I just am like, I think it was that house. It must have not been a mailbox. He was like, he knew immediately. He's like, okay, go up to the front door. Tell them you hit something.
Go knock on the door.
Yeah. So they open up the door and I'm like, I hit your mailbox. I'm sticking to the lie. You know, I'm stubborn.
Yeah.
And the guy's just like, this mailbox? And I was like, I guess not. And my dad's like, thank you for your time. The door shuts. We get in the car. I'm committing to the lie. He lets it go because he's just like,
Yeah.
you know, what, like,
He's like, you've learned enough.
Yeah, you got your
you're a
moment
good
of
enough
uncomfortable.
kid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not that much damage on the car. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
I kept that. It's still, no one knows except for now. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
But like that would have never happened because they would have
No.
had my location. They
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
known that I was
Track the
location.
not at work,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
But there was no, to your point, I did feel guilt
Yeah.
and I felt like, you know, it's the moral compass thing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, even though I never came clean, I still learned a lot from that
Yeah.
interaction. And I don't think I ever did anything like that again.
Yeah, that's
Do you know what I mean?
interesting.
And
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't driving crazy like I was again. Like I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
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 But it's
Do-
hard because it's all sort of the ineffable human life interaction things, you know?
Do you think kids even want the freedom we're talking about? Because I think there's something interesting with like a lot of the examples that we've referenced from like our own childhoods. It also, and I don't want to make it a screen time conversation, so put that aside, but it was also a lot of our freedom was a product of boredom. Like,
Yeah,
and I
totally.
think there is a lot of discomfort in boredom today. And it's something I read a lot about is like, we have to get more comfortable with being bored
Mhm.
again because
Mhm.
boredom is where
Yeah.
creativity thrives. It's where
100%.
all kinds of good, positive things happen. But I wonder if, you know, we're sitting here saying like, yeah, just go out and like walk down the street and like do nothing and go see what that abandoned house is or whatever it is. Like go buy some spray. Is that stimulating enough that it's something the kids even want, or is part of this having to show them the benefits of?
I think no one can want what they truly
have never had,
and no one has. Like it's not like you can compare it to your friend. Like most, like it's the world now. But I think if you talk to kids about less supervision, they would be into it.
Yeah,
like which kid wouldn't be?
Do you think that, 'cause I'm just trying to think of different angles to like, because, you know, there's no shortage of parental advice out there, and it could come top down to the parents of all the benefits, all the things we've talked about, making them realize what they're making their kids miss out on by not giving them freedom. Or do you empower teens to ask for the freedom, and by them asking, and I know what I agree with you, it's hard for a kid to want something they've never had.
I think it's a parent conversation. I think it's a parent conversation because parents would, like every single parent today is a parent that grew up with that freedom, that would understand like everything we've been talking about since the beginning of this conversation is like anyone can relate to.
Yeah.
Anyone, even if you grew up in an urban environment, like anyone can relate to the benefits of having that moment in your life where you're going to fuck up a little bit, but you're going to learn a lot from it. And maybe you're going to be creative from being bored. And there's so many benefits that I think the parents would get it immediately. I don't think everyone realizes. I don't think it's a subject that people talk about. Like people talk about online safety a lot, which is a big subject, but no one in culture and like talks about, like, just leave your kids alone for a second.
Yeah.
It's also very culturally, there's massive cultural differences from a country to another. The data is like insane.
Yeah.
Like in Japan and in Northern Europe, like it's like all in, be free. You're like 10, you're on your bike in the Netherlands and still today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have so many things. It actually made me think of, do you guys remember watching that show out of Japan of the kids? It's I don't know if that's like a thing within the government or if it's a cultural thing, but it's like when they're like sometimes under 5 years old, they just wear a little badge and they get sent on these missions
to like return something or to go to the store.
It's a very Montessori preschool sort of style of like development. But we're talking a lot about the individual responsibility of parents. I wonder if there's like a more collective or cultural angle of like, how do you kind of incite this behavior in a way that makes people feel more safe so that it's not just on them, but it's like, this is a program. Is it through schools or is it, I mean, it's not going to happen through the government with like what's happening.
To your point, 83% of Japanese children ages 6 to 12, 83%, that's massive. They walk or they take public transportation to school and most times unsupervised. 6 years old.
I mean, it's tough because it speaks to a larger sort of bigger safety thing, and, you know, but like, I wonder if there's almost a way to turn it into an activity or a post school social group or something where it becomes a little bit less on the individual. Because I think that's part of the thing we're talking about, right? Is like, as an individual parent, you're scared of making the wrong choice. But if it's a group of several parents doing it together, suddenly it's less scary.
I think it's interesting too to think about, do you become more comfortable with giving your teens freedom if you gave them freedom when they were earlier on versus like, obviously I know that, you know, teenage years are tough and the stakes are high and they can get into more, you know, more trouble. But as a parent, I would assume it's sort of hard to imagine supervising them hardcore from ages like 6 to 11 and then they hit 12 and it's like, all right, freedom's off. Like, I think a lot of times that confidence and comfort comes with knowing that they've sort of grew up that way. And so it's not like some moment in time that you're allowing them their freedom. And I think that's what's interesting about like the example in Japan. And you're like, when you talk about Biz, doing it as almost like a community program, I could see that going well for younger children.
Yeah.
But then it prepares both parents and kids to have that level of freedom when they hit like more teenage years, which I think could be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting with the way you framed it was having multiple parents. It's not how you framed it, but the way I interpreted it, we haven't used the word judgment, but I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like the fear of judgment of others on your parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you say you have multiple parents, then suddenly easier for a parent less scary for a parent to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's back to the first point you raised about like paralysis.
Yeah.
Paralysis comes from like that fear of judgment,
Yeah.
which is a bigger nut to crack.
Yeah.
I know it made me think about how actually there's just too much parenting advice out there. And that's part of the problem. And it's why I don't think you could solve this problem with just another like,
Tip.
Parent
Benefits.
influencer and like advice or even like, not the CDC, but like education. So like if it all comes down as like top down advice, I think it's just, there's just too much out there. And you see judgment is so big. Like any time I watch any video online of any parent doing literally anything, the comments are like, that's dangerous. You shouldn't do that. That's not good for your kid. You really need to be careful. It's like, oh my God, I just could not even fathom.
The conversation about the need to kind of be aware of and probably diminish helicopter parenting in the US has started to bubble up in culture in the last, couple of years, maybe less than that, right? It's like, because people are now realizing that it's not good for the kid, but also not good for them.
Yeah.
They're also like, I don't have a life anymore. I can't do that.
Anxious.
And they're seeing that other cultures are doing completely differently and the kids are still doing well. So that's started.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Probably through just online conversations and then someone doing a study with like how it works in some places in Europe. And
or just generational, like new generations becoming parents, like, Gen Z.
Yeah.
Like I hate to say it, but everyone thinks Gen Z is still like 5 years old, but there's the upper end of Gen Z is becoming parents.
Totally.
25,
so I think it's like, it's interesting.
26.
And there's there's always been like the term like type A parenting, type B. Now there's like type C is coming out, which is basically which is not like overbearing helicopter, but also type B has this connotation of just like, whatever, like anything goes. It's totally fine. And type C is like
the fluidity.
A little bit of both.
Intentional.
Hey, I'm trying to feed the kids healthy. I'm trying to do this, but like, whatever, they want some chips right now. That's fine. Have some chips. Is a little bit of. Is that
where you think Gen Z parenting is going? Are they going to be flipping the script a little bit?
I think a little bit. What were you going to say, Biz?
Mix of tech and freedom?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think what's tough is you talk about Gen Z parents. Maybe they had some of the freedom we're talking about early on, but for the most part, they've lived in a very digital, internet forward life existence.
At least as like teens, for sure.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is like the noise of how to live, how to parent, all these things, right? Of optimizing your life constantly. Yeah. They've grown up with that endlessly.
Yeah.
So the paralysis might be worse. I'm not sure,
Yeah. I read one interesting piece on the prediction of like Gen Z parenting style. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how this will equate to this conversation, but what it basically was saying was because Gen Z has really grown up in like therapy culture, their style of parenting is going to be really focused on breaking like generational trauma, like ending things that have been going on for a very, very long time in either parenting styles or the way that they feel like their family, their parents and their parents' were raised. They're sort of like, it ends here. Mm-hmm. And so with that mentality, I'm like, I don't know, maybe that could play into this. Maybe. It could be a little bit like, hey, this super surveillance, like it ends here. But to your point, Biz, I don't know the time frame with which that happened did not go all the way back. We sort of like people had freedom, then they didn't, and now we're asking the question again. So I don't know if it will apply in the way that they think about parenting.
I think what's tricky too is like, even if the intention is a good intention to try to solve, generational trauma, it can accidentally become another form of subconscious control that you're trying to dictate how your kid is going to turn out. And I think the whole thing we're talking about is that like you can instill confidence and you can raise them with confidence, but confidence only happens when it is practiced.
Yeah.
And like, how do you get them to practice it more? I think it's the therapy speak, the optimize, it's like we're trying to control it all the time, but you got to let people go explore it and do it,
This makes me think about what's becoming one of our repeatable constructs here, but it's true because it's just the way that the human brain works. Freedom is a big thought and it's a big word. To just be like,
free range.
Hey, like give your kids freedom. You're okay, that's
Unpack
what if
that. Yeah.
Like break it down into like if like Roman, if somebody was saying to you, give your kids freedom, that just feels so wide open. But if somebody said, hey, how about on Sundays, you let your kids go to the store alone? Yeah. It's like small, attainable, controlled time frame, but also repeatable, which helps create the behavior. If you attach it to like, hey, what if it's like every Sunday and you create a radius? And, I'm thinking of like how parents could get comfortable with this. I think finding the small, repeatable behaviors that are more contained than just the word freedom. That's feels like it could help. I don't know who said. I don't know who delivered.
You're like a little tactical. Like find tactical ideas too,
and in examples that I think feel comfortable, because then it could maybe start to build some of the confidence. Like if going, I think it all depends on where you live. But if you have a grocery store 3 blocks down, we obviously live in a city, so that seems realistic. Cool. Sundays, go to the grocery store here.
Let's say you're going to go to
the park,
the public school system.
Yeah.
And if you show up walking or on a bicycle, you're going to have something, an extra credit.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever.
To incentivize the parents.
Yeah.
To just give more freedom. That's interesting.
Yeah. I think the containment and the repeatableness of it, and also having it, I think it could give the parents comfort if it was also like, the school example, okay, well, I know that's going to be Monday through Friday between the hours of like 7 and 8 that I'm sort of implying this freedom versus just freedom all day, any day, at any time, whenever you want. It just feels big and scary.
Yeah. It's the small steps thing is interesting. And we talked about it in the resolutions episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you have a goal, don't look at the goal and be like, how do I get there? Be like, okay, what am I going to do this week?
Yeah.
I wonder too if it's like, to the point of like the school system, or like how do you bring in outside partners to be in on it too? Because I mean that's the whole thing with like in Japan, right? You trust the kid to go because everyone's sort of in on it. Like, is it that like Ralph's or like Trader Joe's now has a thing where they're like, if you see a kid walking in by themselves and they have like a little sticker or something, like how do you like bring in some people to be a part of this? It
makes me think of airlines, which is an extreme example of it. But when minors travel alone, it's signaled to everybody that this kid's traveling alone. And then the flight attendant sort of sets them up for success. If you need anything, like I'm here, I'm going to make sure that you get to your seat. I'm going to walk you. Like there are some components that are scary, depending on the situation you're in. And so I think that works better for younger children versus teens, where it feels like now, like I'm going to just reject this altogether because I don't want this. But I think if you start younger, it makes it far less scary to let your teen.
Yeah.
It's just like the
I
concept
like that as a solution.
Like, you know how like you hear the kids, or at least this is a very common conversation in the US because our like drinking culture is weird, and not letting kids, even being so strict about alcohol until kids are 21 creates a really weird relationship. But you hear all the time, like the kids who go to college who had parents that never let them drink, they are out of hand.
Yeah. They're the ones to worry about.
They're the ones to worry about. And that's the same thing I'm thinking about with freedom. If you wait till 13 to suddenly give the freedom, it feels like an unleashing.
Yeah, you got to start them early.
And I think the starting early is really critical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like where you're going with like bringing in partners, making it tactical. I think there's something there.
Yeah.
Like our big conversation in our household is our son, who's 11, is dying to have a bike to go to school.
Oh, yeah.
And on paper, we're so into it, but there's always a but. And the but for us is like there's a street that you have to take where literally cars drive like 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Can you not go on the sidewalk?
They could, but still, we've seen gnarly accidents on that one. They 60 miles an hour. Like
that's so
someone texting, they finish in the wall, and we've seen it. We've lived in that house for 5 years. I've seen probably at least 10 accidents on that street. They were like cars flipped upside down, cars in the wall, two cars like in Tetris shape, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
But I guess the probably goes back to the probability. It's probably super low, and so maybe we just have to overcome it and let him just.
Oh, that's
just
so
do
tricky.
It. Yeah.
It's really tricky.
I think we're gonna end up doing it, but and then be like, just you're gonna have to go around. Sorry,
get him 5 extra minutes.
Yeah, that's
like,
fine.
He's dying to have more freedom.
Yeah,
and he's now started, and they still have a bit of like after school time. Cool, school stops at whatever 2:30. Yeah, don't pick me up until 4:30. All right, cool. And then he just hangs out in the park with his buddies and probably does what they're supposed to do. At that
light stuff on fire.
And exactly.
Yeah,
exactly, which is great. So there's still a little bit of it, even though LA is hard.
Yeah,
for kids' freedom.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
What about kids that don't want that level of freedom?
But I like back to your earlier question. They don't know what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I guess it's maybe I'm going back to our definition of freedom, which is like outside the house, but genuinely some kids who prefer like being at home reading, like don't really want to be out. Is it important to push those kids into more outside or to just let them be as they are? It's a slightly different question, but I'm just curious.
It's a conversation, and then what's important to you as a parent. It's like anything. You could be like, is it important to have your kids read a lot? Is it important to have your kids like play an instrument? Is it like it becomes a decision? You have to make decisions at some point because you can't do everything.
Yeah.
But that part feels like just an everyday thing that doesn't need to be planned, that doesn't need to be pushed. Where you're like, just figure it out.
It made me think of the fact that if you're a kid raised by a parent that also doesn't go and explore their own freedom, are you less likely to crave it or wonder what they're doing?
That's interesting.
Because so many people now are just, it's to no fault of anyone because it's just the culture we live in right now, but it's like they go to work, maybe they work from home, they're on a screen all day, they get off work, then they're on their iPhone. Like they are also not exploring their own sort of free range living in this life of getting out of the house, of doing hobbies, of being gone for an hour or two. Like, do you also need to encourage just adults to do that?
I think it's really interesting. You said it at the beginning, Roman. I forget exactly how you worded it, but like adults, oh gosh, how did you say it?
With a French accent.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I don't know.
Not going there.
Is it adults? I don't know. I was just put a z.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing it.
Close enough.
Yeah, you were talking about like many, like in parenting, adults losing their own identity within it.
Oh, yeah,
like
helicopter parenting.
And losing their identity within that. And I think it is really interesting to think about how that creates like just an interesting tension in the freedom conversation in general, because they're not exploring.
Yeah. And I know you guys, you have lots of your own sort of free time and you have different things that you do, but like, I don't know if that's the thing for everybody, Yeah. And it's like, How do you create a culture in your own home of freedom, individuality, confidence, so that kids crave that, you know,
Yeah,
and
that's
see that
interesting.
as something like if you look up to your dad and he, you know, every morning he does his thing without the family and the other parent allows for that and they switch off. And
Yeah.
there's sort of a system, a culture to it.
Yeah, I know this is an obvious statement, but what you're talking about made me think that to experience and want freedom is to also be comfortable with independence.
Yeah.
And like, I know that it's like obvious, duh, but it is also kind of interesting to think about because like seeing your parents go do things by themselves, be independent, not feel like you always have to do everything together as a unit. It creates like I think just like boredom is actually important. I think independence is quite important, and having confidence to do things and seeing and modeling the behavior that you don't always have to do everything together creates also that sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Like we're getting away from some of the safety issues, which I think is a good thing because
Yeah,
like
it
it's one component, but it's
Yeah.
not everything.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of having to model the behavior a little bit, which
Yeah.
I mean, still you have to convince the parents why it's valuable, but I kind of think you have to do all of these things.
Yeah.
What would you you just briefly touched on something that I think is really interesting earlier on when you talked about fear comparison. So there's I think the fear strategy is interesting, and maybe there's space to unpack it a little bit because the fear really is safety, I think.
Yeah.
But the benefits, you could have a laundry list of benefits.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think I think one of, if I was probably looking at a chart of like, what do parents fear the most? Number one would be safety. And I think number two would be like screwing up your kid's life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I think this is where you were going, Biz, which is like, yeah, you might be afraid of this, but by being so afraid of this, guess what? You're screwing up your kid's life. So like matching the fear with fear and calling it a trade-off, which is what it is. I mean, obviously everything in life is balanced. So it's like, should you not worry about their safety? No, worry about their safety. But if you focus so much on this that you forget the other side of it, you're going to fuck them up anyway.
Yeah. Your irrational fear of them being kidnapped is kidnapping them from being a well-adjusted adult, which is exactly what you want as a parent.
What a banger.
Yeah.
What a banger.
I still
So then
got
how
it.
do you do it? What can you do
I don't
to
I think we need like dare style drug PSAs, like it's 10 p.m. Like, do you know where your kid is at? But like, you know, it's 2035. Do you know how bad you fucked up your kid?
Yeah.
You know,
I've never seen a Dare ad, but funny anecdote. I had the Dare t-shirt until I was like 16 or 17. Like a big black
You wore
t-shirt,
it?
like
The red?
Ironically, or you were like
I did not know
president
what it
of the
is.
Dare Club?
And
You didn't
Dare
even-
to keep kids off drugs.
Were
That's what
you-
my t-shirt said.
You didn't
And
even know what it was?
Then I got it, but I got it from I had a pen pal from Indiana, and I had a t-shirt.
Come on, you knew. You were that kid. You busted in. You said, guys, we can't do drugs.
D-A-R-E.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. No, that program didn't exist.
Guys, that's not safe.
in France. So yeah,
I mean, it was
that happened.
it was a sick shirt. People still wear it. you
Yeah,
know?
it was actually a
iconic,
pretty
really.
cool shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's bring back the Dare design. No, I think that's one way to do it, because also I think talk about, at least right now in the moment, if you really played off of it, it's like generationally nostalgic for parents today. And I think it's an interesting, ironic way to sort of trigger the like the same level of like, oh, okay, actually like might be like overdoing it a little bit here.
I actually like that, because I think what we're talking about is like the sort of core, sorry, Jesse, but insight is bringing up the fear and presenting it to them and the severity of it. But then tonally, you kind of need to add a little bit of levity to it.
Yeah.
So that you're not like doubling down on the same sort of like paralysis that we were talking about. You know what I mean?
Yes, I completely agree. And you could also do the opposite in execution. So instead of having, because the thing actually about the Dare campaign is it was so absurd that people were like, that's not like what's happening. Like kids are not smoking weed and it's like their brain is like a frying egg. Like it's not.
Describe it
and
a little
so-
bit for our non-US listeners.
I mean, they were just, DARE was like an anti-drug program. You said keep kids off drugs, and it went through schools, and they had like DARE officers, and they would come in, they would teach you about this. And
It was
then
an acronym, right?
yeah, and I don't remember what it
Drug
stood for.
Something.
And I'm sure people made up other acronyms
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
it that was more like pro drugs, but the commercials were like, you know, this is like your brain on marijuana. And it was like a frying, sizzling egg. And they were like so over the top that people were like, that's like, guys, this is not what's happening.
It's
like,
also the wrong fear.
It's
too.
the wrong fear. And they were also really, really, of course, our society is different now, but they were treating marijuana like it was the worst thing anyone could ever do.
You were
And
gonna
it's
die,
like,
yeah.
and we're like, actually, it's fine. But it almost, because it was so absurd, it almost made people do the opposite, but treat it with more responsibility. Like, because it was like, that's not really happening. Like, so it was like a healthy rebellion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's actually interesting. I don't think this would work, but
reverse psychology a little bit.
Reverse psychology. Exactly. Like if you made the most, like you should, like it's 7 p.m. Is your kid locked inside their room? I hope they're locked inside their room. Like make sure that your kids don't go outside. Make sure they're, you know, if by playing into the absurdity of it, I wonder if, the reverse psychology effect of a little bit of like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not locking my kid inside.
Yeah. I love that.
even as a way to start the conversation, which
totally.
I think is what you said at the beginning,
Yeah,
Roman.
exactly.
Like it's, how did anti-helicopter parenting come into the cultural conversation? Obviously through like everything, when you hit a tipping point, at some point people start to question, is this actually the best way? And I wonder if we just need something to force us into the tipping point a little bit.
Yeah.
Show the absurdity as a way to begin the conversation of like, should we give our kids just a little more freedom?
And the absurdity of their own behavior too. You know, like you could sort of poke at like the fact that like a parent is sitting and watching their kids' every move on the thing, you know? And it's like nothing. Yeah, they went and they came back and that's it. But like you wasted an hour anxious watching this thing. Like that's crazy, you know? But like I feel like you could poke it from both angles, you know? Because again, it's like it does come back to the parents' own like anxieties too of the helicopter parenting.
And do you think there's a lack of awareness with the risks of online freedom? Because like kids are like mostly, right? Like generally speaking, the data shows there's a lot of freedom for teens to be online, to be in places where they could interact with strangers, to be in like, you see what I mean?
I don't think there's a lack of awareness. I think there's a lot out there, but I think that this is complete hypothesis that it feels almost daunting and impossible to control the internet. And you know that you can't take your kid off of it, because if you do, you isolate them, you isolate their social, like, so it's sort of like, well, I kind of just have to shut my eyes and go with it because I can't, it's just too overwhelming to fathom how you like, manage. I agree. Like there should be better safety, better anti-bullying, better, you know, all of that. But I don't think there's a lack of awareness of that.
Yeah. But there's probably also, there might be a lack of, you know, it's less tangible. Yeah. Like the human's not right there. You can't like put a face on that human. That's whatever bullying.
And the impact of it is,
And so it's probably harder for a parent to like.
I forget what the term is for this, but there's also that mindset of like, I know that's happening, but probably not to my kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's really easy to like know about it, but not associate it with.
It's interesting because the fear of outside freedom is the opposite, where it's like, I know that's probably not happening that much, but it's going to happen to my kid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That is interesting.
And like, it's a weird thing that it's psychological.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I wonder also if you could like compare sort of the safety of online to the safety of the outside world too, like in that same sort of vein of like, you're letting your kids do this and this is happening. It's actually more dangerous from them to be online than it is to be out in the world, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Do you know what I mean? Like
another fear comparison.
Yeah. Not to, just make everyone more scared, but it does work.
I mean, it's probably like worse to let your, I mean, you want to avoid the like, what I love the fear comparison thing when it gets into like parental shaming. I think it could have the opposite effect, even though I'm a big fan of shaming.
Yeah.
But because I was thinking like, at first I thought you could do a whole thing with like, it's worse to let your kid eat blank than to play outside. But then I'm like, but then I'm like, whatever, let your kid eat some Chick-fil-A. Like what, it's fine. You don't want to make it another aim for perfection, but
I think I'm just trying to think about like the job to be done, which is like to get people talking and to be more aware of the fact that like the thing that they are doing is actually like so detrimental. You know? But yeah, it's just such a funny thing where, to your point, like they could, what they're seeing online and what they have access to search is like a million times worse than letting them walk to 7-Eleven to grab some Skittles.
Yeah, and like mess around with their friends for a couple hours without you knowing what they're doing. Yeah.
This is totally the opposite of what I just said, because it would be very much shaming. But I think like doing kid comparisons would be like, like
little Timmy versus
little Timmy gets outside time and like little Betty does not. And like, let me tell you, Timmy has more friends. People like him better.
Actually,
that's brutal.
Do you guys remember that? Like, I think I've brought this up before. Classic ad of the guy, what the guy would have to look like to survive a car crash.
Oh yeah.
Disgusting. There's gotta be some like some visual, tangible representation of like what happens when you don't let your kids grow up with the freedom that they need. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's not a one-to-one, but like there's got to be.
I have a meme like campaign in my head. But where just like the comparing of things. Like the exaggeration that you could showcase. That could be humor.
Yeah.
It's more humor.
For sure.
If you go with like shaming and pressure.
This makes me think back to something that we all worked on at one point, was like trying to help fight for parental leave.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the things that we talked about was like, look, there's so many sad stories in this, and there's so many messed up statistics about how women have to go back to work after like 14 days of having a baby because there's no federal parental heavy topic. And I think the one thing that we said specifically to that organization was, it's so easy for people to scroll past heavy. Like, and there's so much like trauma porn out there that it's like, actually humor is far more motivating, because by pointing out the absurdity, you actually understand the gravity. And so I think I think one, what you said, Biz, feels really important, which is like the best way to start solving this is not to create solutions to the problem, but to create conversation. And then the best way to create conversation is probably through humor and a little bit of absurdity, rather than just being like trying to go straight down the middle of these really heavy, messed up, sad statistics about like how your kids are going to get all screwed up.
Yeah, I should pull that strategy deck back up. That was
a good one.
Yeah, we should.
It was a banger.
We got to get on that one.
Cool. Well, I mean, time for me to wrap us up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I'm looking at a few notes. Yeah, I think we talked a bit about like obviously the paralysis that parents have and the judgment that they have from like the choices they make as parent. I think that's pretty big in culture, because Jesse, I think you said a bunch that there's like, we don't like parental advice online. There's way too much of it, and people's opinions and whatever. And that culture of parenting is also probably harmful to what we're trying to do. Talked about reframing the value of mistakes, which I thought was interesting at the beginning, when we unpacked that for a little bit. We spent some time around breaking down freedom, like making that term a little less scary and important, and maybe through tactics and small steps and finding partners like school boards or grocery stores or things that could let you just have actual tangible initiatives in neighborhoods for kids to like just like be a little freer. we covered kind of like modeling behavior, like have the parents create that culture inside their households to model behavior about doing things, I guess, broadly versus just staying home and being on Zooms all day and then watching TV on the weekends. And then the final bit, which we also touched on at the beginning, was around, which I loved, when we got a little tactical around tone, around strategy. All right, what if we use like the fear strategy, but then we probably want to add levity to it. We probably want to do it through humor versus shaming and fear. Humor pointing out the absurdity is going to give us more chances to raise awareness and probably to increase self-awareness of what you're doing as a parent versus pointing fingers.
Yeah.
And through that, there was like the reverse psychology component. There was comparing online safety versus real world safety, comparing kids, actual kids, which
little
I thought
Jimmy
was
versus
brutal,
little
but could be
Timmy.
very, very funny if you did it well. And yeah, that's it. So, Biz, what do you think? Do you think we cracked it?
No, I don't. If I'm thinking about, not to break the fourth wall here, but sort of the significant way, like I think we got to some really interesting thoughts. I think we talked to some interesting sort of like cultural waves that are happening. And we touched on some behavioral things, but I almost am like, I want to talk to more actual parents across different sort of demographics to get an understanding of like, what actually is the tension between what they're doing and what they need, and where can we sort of deliver on that? That would be like my thought. Yeah. So like, no, but I think it was like a really interesting conversation.
Jess?
Well, I think as the International Board of Childhood Freedom, I think we've built ourselves an excellent comm strategy.
Okay, good.
I think we have a lot of clear jobs to be done. I think there's some good messaging buckets. I think we have clarified our problem. How do we start the conversation? So yeah, I'm going to say we did crack it.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
The strategists are fighting.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't think we cracked it, but I agree with you both. Except for the yes and no. I mean, I agree with you. I think we got to everything you just said about what we got to, and Biz, everything you said about what you'd want to do to get a little further on cracking it. But no, I don't think we cracked it. But it's societal changes are, I don't think we've ever cracked one. This is a big societal change. It's not like a small tactical thing, but they're always like interesting conversations. So yeah, thanks for playing.
Thanks for playing.
You. That's the pod. Thanks for listening to another episode of Crack It. And we'll see you, or you'll hear us, I guess. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Crack It in an Hour. If you like the show, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you have questions, thoughts, or feedback, shoot us an email at hello@crackitpodcast.com or on Instagram @crackitpodcast. Music done by Michael Anastasi, cover art shot by Mick Mint, and all things audio and video taken care of by Nathan Nash. See you next time.